Start.
I'd like to call this meeting for the Parks and Recreation Board to order. I see that we have a quorum. Are we supposed to call Rosa?
She notified the city that she could not attend this evening by phone, so.
So then I guess that's roll call and,
Can you speak in your speaker? I can hardly hear you.
yeah, sure. Are there any public comments?
On the agenda.
Okay. So then, moving right along to discussion, action of medians on Sage Lane Turtle Crossing subdivision.
Thank you. So at our last meeting, we talked about these medians on Sage Lane in the Turtle Crossing subdivision, particularly because they have the grass, and right now the Parks Maintenance team cuts that grass. As you can see, there's pictures in the packet of some significant trees and bushes that are in those medians. So we talked about some potential ideas as an alternative to what is there. So in your packet, you'll see a bunch of different ideas from we don't need to do anything, it takes about 15 minutes to mow this, to several options, you know, large, you could take them out, you could add bricks, you could put wood chips. So this is up for discussion today.
We can make it part of the mayor's monarch pledge
Yes.
is another solution. So.
Yep. And I'm happy to read through all of them if you'd like, or whatever you'd like me
Would
to
this
do.
require taking the trees out, or are we leaving the trees? And I guess with the monarch pledge or the ground cover prairie grasses, would that leave, excuse me, leave the trees and then just plant that with the trees as well, instead of taking everything out?
Could also, yes, could also be that option.
Okay, okay.
So with any of these options, what costs and time are we looking at?
So,
And as current director, do you have a preference yourself, or does anyone here have a preference for that matter? You know, I'm looking at these and I know what my preference is, but I'd love to hear what the rest of the committee has, but I'd also love to hear about pricing.
sure. So I don't have the pricing right now,
Okay,
particularly because it could go in any direction. Do we want to put wood chips around the trees and do nothing else? Do we want to do nothing? Do we want to completely tear it out and just make it a road? I think the ranges and the combinations are a little bit endless at this point, which is great. It's like a green field of whatever you would like to do. I will say I talked to the maintenance team and they said it's really not a big deal to leave it as is and mow it.
How many years have they mowed it? Because like the last few years, it was never mowed.
They've always mowed it.
No, I've seen it quite a bit, a lot of times, pretty long.
My-
Not just last year, but a couple of previous years.
My understanding was at one point, and I'm not sure how long they've been here, the community, like, people who lived around it just mowed it as part of
Right.
their, like, And so eventually it switched over to the city because we're up at Northfield Park. Just drive the mower right on over. So,
About circa 2018,
okay.
I directed city staff to start mowing it because the residents stopped mowing it.
It's been quite a long time. Yeah. So I don't know if that's really a preference, but more to say it hasn't been extremely tedious to mow it. We're already up there. It takes about 15 minutes. And we did it, again this summer. So I think some of these options are really interesting, but I think we have to remember we would have to designate someone to take care of it. Some of these, Mayor's Monarch Pledge or Harvard Garden Club, I have not talked to them. So this is just this could be an idea. We could engage them. We could ask them. Ground cover, it's low maintenance, but it takes a very long time to grow over. So you would have dirt for a very long time before all the plantings would grow out. Brick pavers would look really pretty, but that would be extra costly compared to leaving it.
I think it's important to keep the trees in place because we're supposed to be a tree city. So if we could do some kind of combination with that and maybe even the Monarch Pledge, that could probably reduce our costs yet make it really pretty and easy to take care of. Do you know how much time a guess there would be on how to first planning the plants and getting that all up to speed? Because ground cover would take a long time to establish, I think,
Right.
more than plants.
Yeah. When you say plants, what kind of plants?
Like
Like
the butterfly type ones, the ones
Sure.
that are for the Monarch Pledge.
So if you designated an area for the Monarch Pledge, then the Monarch Pledge group would find what they call a custodian, I guess, overseer of that plot, and they would plant. The volunteers tend to plant the native plantings that attract the butterflies. So we have quite a few of these throughout the city. There's some right at the corner of Marengo Road and Brink Street. There's one that we did, I think, within the cities. We're looking at doing in Milky Way Park. There's one right outside the pool. There's one, I think, at Washington School. They're kind of scattered throughout the community. And so we could certainly plant, some of that, but the issue that I think tends to be is that it becomes overgrown with these, it's not tidy, right? So the question is, are you willing to live with that? Because more importantly, are the neighbors willing to live with that on the entrance into their subdivision?
And I would just say from a time perspective, sometimes the wildflowers take several years to come up. So it would just depend on what that custodian decided to plant. And so it looked different each year.
I think it's important to keep the trees in place, kind of, we are a tree city, and keep with, my vote, I guess, would be maybe a combination of the Monarch Pledge, that can be a combination of wildflowers, milkweed. There is a live Monarch website that they will give you, based on your area, they will give you the seeds, everything that you need for planting. You just have to pay for shipping. So if you're looking for cost-wise, it would just be for shipping, depending on what you need. And those prairie grasses is another good thing to have. From a personal perspective, brick pavers and river rock and even mulch, brick pavers might look nice, but they're going to start growing weeds in between the cracks in no time. You're going to have runoff. River rock, same thing, runoff, and then those rocks are going to fall down onto the roads. Then you have that bit of a hazard. And mulch, that's a yearly expense then, because the mulch is also going to run off onto the street, and then you're going to have to redo it every year. Whereas once you get these plants established, and they're gonna be perennial, they'll come back every year, then it's something that the city doesn't necessarily have to worry about. Yes, they can be overgrown, but that's, another discussion. But again, personal, I think that would be best, would be a combination of the trees, plants for monarchs, and native prairie grasses.
I agree. One of the things that you mentioned, the Monarch Pledge is mentioned, the Harvard Garden Club is mentioned. One of the things I don't see mentioned that I think we might want to check into, and I'd be happy to help or guide you, is also contacting, although they can't do a lot in the summer, is the school district. A lot of times with the agricultural department, which is, small but mighty in Harvard, we still have ag students. We still have people doing that. And I think,
FFA?
Yeah,
Yeah.
FFA.
Yeah.
And I just think in an effort to, with a new superintendent, to possibly help to bridge communications and open lines of communications and show willingness to cooperate and to include, that might be one of the things we should look into as well, just to see if they have maybe an idea or a need for a small piece of land in a neighborhood that they would like to tend.
Looking at, I've driven by there several times, and it always looks pretty bad in that area. It's overgrown, and so these trees, I'm in favor of keeping the trees, just the good trees, right? Like this one here needs to go. These other bushes need to go. They're no good. If you don't maintain those, they look horrible. And as far as me, if I lived in that neighborhood, I want that kept nicely. I want it to be grass, and I want just trees. My own personal opinion, right? Making that into, for the butterflies, I think it looks great in the pool. There's certain places for those locations, right? Like the pool's a great spot for that. In a subdivision, it's not a good spot for it. It's not gonna look good. It's gonna get overgrown. No one's gonna maintain it. I think the best scenario for something in this situation, it's a big area, right? I'm assuming at one point there's gonna be the subdivision that was gonna maintain that, and now they're not doing it.
So the intention when this subdivision was built, that there would be a homeowners association that would maintain that property, but that subdivision never created a homeowner association. So there were a few homeowners that were taking care of it, and either they left or decided not to anymore, and that's when it became so unruly, I just directed staff to start cutting it. So, and that's.
always been grass.
Pardon me?
It has always been.
Yeah,
Yes, it's always been
Yep,
grass
yep.
in these trees.
I'm just,
and-
like those, some of those trees are nice, right? And
Sure.
like trees and everything else, you gotta trim them, you gotta make them look nice. These bigger trees, they look pretty, like in good shape, they probably need a good trimming. I would eliminate the rest of these trees that are just, I don't know what they are, those green bushes. Those don't look good. I've been by there, they just don't look good. They're an eyesore.
I can make a suggestion.
Yeah.
So I think the original reason that this came to committee was, it was directed this way, maybe last year, maybe even longer, because we were trying to reduce maintenance, park maintenance. It appears that it doesn't take that much time for our staff to maintain this. They're right across the street at Northfield. I think they just pop over, they mow, maybe go around the trees. We have a tree board, and we do have the ability to get trees and replace trees through the tree board. Maybe there's an opportunity, if we talk to the board, to do what you're suggesting and get rid of the trees that aren't as nice and replace them with something that is nicer and continue to maintain the grass area through our parks.
I think that's a great suggestion. It's still gonna be, what'd you say, 15 minutes to mow that? It's not a long time, and if we can replace those trees with other trees, yeah, that'd look nice.
And we could get those FFA kids back out here. They helped us a couple weeks ago and they did a great job.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think of like the least amount of maintenance where it looks decent, right? I just think the butterfly sanctuary would be great, but just not that location.
Yeah, and agree to disagree. I hate lawns and that manicured lawn look. I am an English garden type of person, so, my vote would be just
Sure.
the opposite, but I appreciate that, and I really, it's not my ward, so I can't say I engaged any of the residents there.
Sure.
But again, that's just a difference of, what people like.
There's only one tree here,
What would it cost to take it out?
a big one.
To
Reason
like
why-
rem-
reason why
to-
I'm
To
saying-
remove the islands altogether?
The reason why I'm saying is there's no parking over there, and no street parking for any of the residents in that area.
Yes, that's a true statement. So in
Because they're
that
trying to sell a
area,
house now, and they're not, can't sell it because that's a big issue.
so where those islands are, there is not enough room to park on the street in front of your house and allow someone to pass by, especially emergency services. So that is also an option, but that would be a very costly option.
Right,
You'd
that's
have to
costly.
tear all that out and then repave it.
I know it's going to be expensive. I'm thinking,
And so, when this subdivision, my understanding, I didn't live here then, but when the subdivision was designed, at that time, the developer wanted to kind of accentuate that this was the entrance to Turtle Crossing, and that's why the islands were created as part of that subdivision. So,
So do we need to come up with a specific game plan right now at this moment, or do we
I don't
just
think
keep
so.
talking
I
about-
mean, unless you tell us differently, we will continue to mow the grass and we'll contact the tree board and see if they are interested in replacing some of the trees, unless you want to give us other direction on what to do,
It
can we
seems
trim the
like-
trees?
of course.
If
I
you-
mean, like that one up front, that looks pretty shabby.
I was just going to say, there are some plantings that, for example, there's trumpet vine. So the reason that it's not vining anywhere, it just has become, a whole, I don't know, bush,
A bush.
like bush-ish.
A trumpet tree, trumpet bush, not a trumpet
Yes.
vine.
So we can also maybe present some suggestions, like we would get rid of this thing, but, we can, I guess, do more research on what kind of trees there are, and I can give you a count next time of, these are how many trees, this is what we would maybe suggest taking out.
Yeah, and involving the tree board, of course, who,
Yes,
has
yes.
That way we can have a more solid game plan for anybody else that's talking about, like, they don't like it and they just want to, get rid of it all. So,
Yeah.
All right, does that mean we should now move on to, or I should say, I guess, we can move on to the request for a proposal for boiler replacement at the Harvard Aquatic Center. And I think there were quite a few things that were concerning to people, whether or not we're just throwing more money at something that's broken, or we need to look into possibly what the feasibility is for maintenance and upkeep on this pool versus what the greater cost would be for investing or putting away money for a rainy day of a complete replacement of the pool, and how all those numbers kind of figure out. Do you have any information?
So I recommend give them an update of where the pool is, what we've done, where it is, and then, the decisions that they have to make.
Did we find the leak?
Oh, yes, we found the leak. We could get to it without taking out any concrete. So finding the leak only cost $1,500. Replacing it, we were able to do it just with our maintenance budget, Public Works and Parks Maintenance fixed that. So much less costly and much less intense than we thought it was going to be. So that's fixed. Since then, it actually, because we fixed the leak, it added more pressure to the line, so we were able to identify a couple more small leaks in the water slide, not in the whole system, but just some other things that we didn't see because the water wasn't pushing through all of the pipes. So all of that was fixed as well. We've closed the pool, we've winterized it. We had a pool painting company come out to look at the pool surface and make sure that it's okay, and as long as no crazy cracks or anything happens during the winter, we'd be able to wait until the fall of next year to paint it, which is good from a budgetary perspective because we were planning to put it in the budget for next year. And just based on timing, because our fiscal year starts May 1, we really wouldn't have had time to do all of the maintenance, paint it, and get ready for the season. So that's an update. We should be okay waiting till fall to paint it. Nothing has changed in terms of the boiler. There's still the 3 options on the table that we have. We can clean the heat exchanger, we can replace the exchanger on the current boiler, or we can replace the boiler altogether. And we're also thinking about the filters. I know we're not discussing the filters today, but that's still the same. We're just thinking that we will be able to do that again in the next fiscal year, hopefully being able to budget from all of our maintenance, increasing our maintenance costs, increasing our maintenance budget to be able to take care of the filters that are broken. So that was another thing that we had discussed in our last meeting. So I don't know if you want to talk about your memo or.
So I think one of the important things for this tonight to decide is we can't open the pool without a functioning boiler, and we don't have a functioning boiler. It's my understanding that if we go with option 1, which is on the memo, it may or may not solve the problem. If we go with option 2, it may or may not solve the problem. Option 3 will solve the problem. Option 3 is also quite costly. So I have laid out how we can pay for option 3. However, I'd like to point out that we will be subsidizing that from the general fund. That will not be coming from park funds because there isn't enough money in the park fund in this current budget to pay for that. History has shown that we have subsidized from the park fund to the point where 2 years ago we paid back the general fund. We've subsidized to the park fund from the general fund, and we did pay back the general fund 2 years ago, $750,000. That was subsidies from the general fund to the park fund over time, years and years, but it started out in this way. So if we want to go that route and open the pool next year, the money is there to do so, but I would suggest that we don't make a habit of it, or else years down the road, we're going to end up in this same situation. The upcoming levy, I've planned for $350,000 of that levy to go to the parks. Half of that will go to the pool. That's to operate the pool and to do the repairs, some of the repairs that Joe spoke of, but not all of the repairs that will need to be done over time as we move forward. We do have some plans for pool maintenance that we think might work to help slow down some of the issues that we've been having in the past, and I don't know if you want to talk about those right now, or if we want to do a
Yeah, I think we'll talk about that later in the meeting,
Okay.
because while it is germane to this topic, it's not quite that,
Okay.
right?
So, so we do have some plans to try to help with some of those maintenance issues and some other ideas as far as keeping the pool going as it is now. But as Lori stated, at some point, we're going to have to make a decision on whether or not we're going to bond out, do a referendum to replace the pool, upgrade the pool, or move on and do something other than the pool.
So, as everyone here knows, but the people watching don't know, we received a letter from someone in my ward. And, he had a suggestion of, let's get the pool open, but let's find out the usable life of the pool realistically. And I think that second part is really what we need to consider. I'm not a pool expert. I'm not a municipal pool expert. I don't want to be a municipal pool expert, but I'm finding out I'm researching more and more than I want to spend time on. The pool there are many people who feel the pool is just a real sense of pride, and they have a lot of memories of being in the pool. That first pool, as I understand it, lasted about 30 years. We're coming up on 30 years on this one. And so I think, finding out exactly how much usable life we have in the pool, and I don't know how we go about doing that, if we have to hire an expert or if we have to just do research or what we do, is really what we need to find out before we start putting good money after bad. I mean, you know, we were able to get away with that water leak by going the route of, the inexpensive route. I would much rather us go the inexpensive route if we only have 2 more years on this pool, rather than spending almost $100,000 just so we could keep it open another year, and we still have to do the filters, and we still have to change this. And, you know, I don't think anyone expected that the last boiler would only last 5 years. So that's my other concern. If we replace this boiler, is that only going to last 5 years?
Actually, I talked to, what's his name, Brett? Trevor, yeah. He goes, they make them a lot better than they used to also. In 5 years, they've made quite improvements.
I think the one they made before that lasted a lot
They said
longer
that.
than 5 years. I equate it to my own furnace in my home. I have a home that was built in 1978, and that furnace lasted 30 years. And then when I had to replace that furnace, the original furnace that was in there, I know I'm going to have to replace it every 10 years, because that's just the life expectancy of the high-efficiency furnaces that they make today. It's about 10 to 15 years. And I just know that's a maintenance I'm going to have to expend. And again, I think the people of Harvard need to know what they can expect realistically. Are we going to borrow money? Again, we don't want to make a habit of borrowing money from the city to get the pool open for 2 years, and then it closes again for some other emergency, and then everyone's mad at us again. And on top of it, we spent all this money. So what can we do to investigate, to realistically, I mean, have we done our due diligence? Do you feel that everything you've presented to us is a realistic, aspect? If we do this, can you tell us how long it's going to last, or do we need to bring an expert in? What do we do?
So at this point, we've brought in experts to look at every piece individually. We have not brought in an engineer to look at the entire system, the pool house, the mechanical room, the chemical room, the basin of the pool. We have not brought in someone who can evaluate the entire system, underground, everything, and say, here is how long this will last.
You can't see underground.
Right, but, I'm just trying to, holistically, the water heater was replaced in the pool house this year. I think recently, as of 2018, they replaced some of the filters, so we've looked at it. Here's the pool fill valve. Here is the filter. Due to the short time that I've been here too, we've been able to solve the problems as they come up, but we have not had an expert come in that can understand all of the pieces together. I talked to Trevor, who is our parks maintenance lead, today, and if we wanted to do that, what we would be able to consider is a pool engineer. We mentioned this before, Burbach Aquatics, that's who designed the pool originally. That might be someone that we could reach out to and see. I, at this point, don't know how much that would cost, what that engineering would be. I don't know, Mayor, if you have had that done before or have any experience of what that might look like.
No, but I'll give you some inputs, but
I do have some input, because I had a couple constituents ask me, if I could pull up my email correctly. According to the Centers for Disease Control and another environmental group, and I'd be happy to share the information that I found, pools, municipal pools in this size last 25 years is the expected life. So where are we at on the timeline?
June will be 25 years.
Yeah. So that I came up with 2 sources, that said that in our climate out here, it's 25 years. And like I said, I'd be happy to, I'm not pulling up my email as quick as I want. But if that's the case, we're going to have to, I'm just really afraid of borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, to use a very old expression. But I just, and again, maybe I should chat GPT, who else we could use to give us an answer. But But yeah, I just think that we really need to, I personally don't know if spending $85,000 on a new boiler and borrowing that money from the city is the best use of our resources. I don't want to see the pool not open next year, but that's a lot of money for a patch and for one component. And if that's what you're saying, that will guarantee the pool to open. The other two won't. And that's, that's my concern, because you did say the other two may or may not work.
We also have to look at it from the perspective too of the town. If we don't go with any of the options, we try to go the engineer route, which I think the engineer route is a very good idea to see what is the life of the pool, what problems are going to come up. But if we don't do anything and the pool doesn't open, I mean, we already had issues this year with it shutting down, and you saw how the town turned against us. It's going to happen again. The town wants the pool, and I know spending $80,000 to $100,000 is not the route to go because it's so expensive. I think going with option 3 is the safest because we know it will work, as opposed to the other two expenses where, could not. And even though that boiler may be guaranteed 5 years, 10 years, but we don't know the length of the pool, it's almost like we have to take this in stages. I don't think that with what we currently know, we can be all in on one option. We have to take this in stages because there are so many unknowns. And the one known that we do have is we need a new boiler. It costs this much. If we want to open next year and we want to make the town happy, we've got to get the new boiler. As for the life of the pool and all of the other, components that come with it, that's got to be stages down the road. But what we do know is in front of us, and that's what we have to act on first. We don't have the other information as of yet.
I did find that email, and it was the National Recreation and Parks Association, NRPA, and CDC Healthy Swimming Programs were the sources that I found that said 20 to 25-year life cycle.
So that boiler, obviously the boiler got inspected, right? We know the boiler's bad. It's not functioning anymore.
And when you said option 3, though, just to clarify, because when I look at this, you said, I just want to make sure I understand you correctly. Option 3, which is pool boiler replacement, is the $85,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's.
So if I can interject, I don't know what the intended lifespan of the pool was meant to be when it was built. Didn't live here at the time. What I do know is it's a concrete pool. So generally, if you take care of concrete, like painting it, which we regularly do, the pool structure itself, and based on our last inspection, is in good shape. So I don't know that there's any reason to be concerned that the pool structure itself will deteriorate in the next few years. I suspect that there's probably at least 10 years of life out of the pool structure. When you say a pool, the thing about a pool in terms of its longevity, it's a very complicated system. So it's not just the structure that holds the water, it's all the mechanicals that drive the pool. And for certain, we know that many of those components won't last 25 years. So the question is, in their recommendation or their indication is, what part of the pool are they talking about? Because I believe the structure itself, being concrete and if maintained properly, could last 50 years. It's the mechanicals that they're, even with regular maintenance and proper water balance, is not going to last 25 years. That's just the nature of running a pool because of the harsh environment that the chemicals, especially chlorine and acids, introduce into the systems. One of the things that I don't know that has been discussed, and we will talk about this later, when we talk about maintenance for the pool, because we've done a really good job of analyzing our pool operations from top to bottom about trying to ensure that we have better operations in the future. One of the things which has been brought to you in the past, at the last meeting, I believe, is one of the problems that we discovered was in the acid distribution system in the pool. And if you know anything about pool chemistry, you have to maintain a proper pH balance in the water. So pH determines whether the water is caustic or acidic. And if it's too much one way or too much the other way, it is going to cause premature failure of equipment. I fully suspect that the sensors which we had to replace because they weren't working properly probably weren't providing the acid demand required to keep the pool water balanced. That's been happening even over a single season. It would increase the deterioration rate of the heat exchanger because the water that's flowing through that heat exchanger is not balanced, and therefore it's very likely it was a major contribution to the heat exchanger failing sooner than we would have anticipated. I suspect with the maintenance that we have done to correct that problem, that the future water chemistry will be much better balanced. And while I can't prove to you that that was the cause, because there probably were other contributing factors, based on what I know about pool chemistry and operating my own pool, I suspect that that was the major contributing factor. Moving forward, no matter what kind of pool you operate, and there's all kinds of different technologies out there, regardless, you will always have corrective maintenance required just by the very nature of the system. So pumps will eventually wear out, and they wear out faster because they're in a harsh environment. The same with the filters, the same with the boiler. So the key component of ensuring that you get the most longevity out of the pool is to ensure that the water chemistry is balanced so that you don't cause scaling or all the other things that happen that cause the equipment to fail sooner. Some other things that we've done in the past that we believe have helped the pool, for instance, there used to be a sand area in the pool area, and that sand was getting in the pool because the kids would go play. They get out of the pool, they'd be all wet, they'd go get in the sand pit, then they'd carry that sand back with them into the pool. That sand eventually made it into the filter system, and if it goes through pumps, it's going to grind the pumps and cause premature failure. We did see a decline in pump replacement when we eliminated the sand, but I think we still have seen a higher rate of failure in pumps, and I think that's really it's pool chemistry that has probably provided some of those problems.
And I think Joe brought that up when she gave her last presentation at the city council meeting, which is another point about this boiler, is that the type of filtration system that we have with the amount of moisture in itself, if we keep that, that
Yes.
is going to deteriorate this boiler faster.
I don't disagree with that atomization can happen with the open pit, but remember, the pool was designed for that filter system. So we could certainly replace it. That's another discussion, I think, at another time, which would increase the cost, but it also will there's some benefits to doing, reduces PPE, what's the word I'm looking for? Equipment that, PPE that our workers would have to use when replacing it. But in the end, it's not required.
No, it's not. I'm just concerned that, and again, this is before I was on the Parks
Sure.
Board or before I was an alderman, that we replaced this 5 years ago.
I agree.
And my concern is that before we have a chance to pay this money back, we might have to replace it again.
And that is a fair argument, and for those who don't want to spend the money on the pool, I get it. I will just tell you that $100,000 that we would spend on maintenance of the pool is a drop in the bucket if we had to build a new one.
Exactly, that's what I was gonna say.
Well,
And it's in pretty good shape, the pool.
So, obviously, this decision and recommendation to council is yours to make. I see both sides of the fence. If we didn't have a pool to operate, it would certainly, as some former council members have stated, it would free up a lot of revenue available to utilize on other park things like, I don't know, a rec center. But at the same time, this is a huge investment that our community made into this amenity, and it's still a viable amenity. So I don't know that we've reached the tipping point that it makes sense to say no, but that's not my decision to make.
And I don't know that we've reached the tipping point that that we should make the decision to say no, but I think we need to find out what that tipping point is. And some type of research needs to be done to find out.
What's that gonna cost?
I agree with you, and I also agree with Mayor, right? We need to do that, absolutely. The lifespan of this pool, right, it's going on 25 years, I get it. To the mayor's point, it's concrete pool. The stuff that's wearing out, it's all mechanicals, right? Pumps, boilers, that kind of stuff. So one thing that I think of is the survey we did, right? About the pool, the taxpayers want the pool open. We did a survey, they want it open. So I don't want to spend $85,000 on this pool. I would like to shut the pool down. It costs a lot of money to keep these pools going, but we have to decide based on the taxpayers, right?
yeah.
And the taxpayers want this pool open. I think we need to keep the pool open. I motion to replace the boiler. I'm okay to motion that, Mayor? Yes? Yeah, I'm gonna motion to go ahead and move forward with the third step and replace that boiler.
I'll second the motion.
$85,000 one?
It would
I
be,
second it.
it would be a recommendation to city council to do an RFP for boiler replacement not to exceed $100,000.
Wonderful, that's my recommendation to the city council, yes, agreed.
Second that too.
All right, could I do we have to take a vote?
Well, so you have a motion and a second.
Right.
So you can have further discussion, but then eventually you need to take a vote.
Okay, I think we already had all the discussion on this and, determined the details, so could I take a vote?
Yep.
Look at the asset it is to the town. It's a multi-million-dollar pool, really, and you're talking only $85,000 to keep it up.
I just wanted, Mike, one thing you mentioned after talking to Trevor, and Mike did come out and look at the
Yeah, I
mechanics
came
and
over
everything.
there, looked at everything.
The new boiler wouldn't have as open of a hood. So when you said, I just want to back that up, when you said they're built different, the one that we would be looking at is more enclosed, so there's not as much open air. And it also would have a different fan that goes outside and pulls in additional air from the outside, which is different than how this boiler is now. So I just wanted to follow up in case
So that should
was
help
helpful.
out with the lifespan of the boiler.
Yes, that is the hope.
So I call everybody
Yeah,
individually, right?
because this is, you're recommending spending money, you should take a roll call vote, yes.
Okay, roll call vote, Annamarie Platt-Miller,
Yes,
Mike Hoeflich,
Yes,
Lori Lancaster says yes.
Okay.
Yes,
I'm sorry,
It's okay. Joe Pienta, I say yes.
so then it's 5-0. Motion passes.
That will be published as soon as possible so that we can get our pricing in, get that back to committee for approval. That will be published as soon as possible. We can get our RFPs back to committee for approval and get that in the works so we can hopefully have that done by May.
Excellent. All right, next is discussion and possibly an action for the Harvard Milk Days request to plant a tree in Milky Way Park.
Please state your name, please state your name and address for the
live?
record. Yeah, you're good.
Okay. I'm not asking for money.
And Mike,
Let's get that clear right away.
Mike, can you,
Can you just state your name for the record, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. Mike Banwolf, and I'm president of the Harvard Milk Day Board, plus chairman of the Milk Day Grounds, which brings me to why I'm here. Couple of things. Recently, we lost a person that had been an administrator, I would say, office administrator for Milk Day for 30 years. It was Wanda Marzal. And the board discussed what we want to do in remembrance of Wanda. That's a long time to be involved with any type of a volunteer group. Wanda happened to be the only paid employee that we have, and that is the office person that now we do short-term, 6 weeks before Milk Day and 3 or 4 weeks after Milk Day. But, traditionally, you can buy a nice plant and so forth, but nice plants are running $65, $75. And so we thought, what would be nice is we plant a tree in remembrance of Wanda. And then the discussion actually went beyond that to say, well, maybe we want to create a nice seating area, landscaped trees, bushes, and so forth, and do it kind of as things develop in the remembrance of people that have been such an important part of 85 years of Harvard Milk Day. And a thought that was brought out, Annamarie Platt bringing out, talking to the school, I think is an excellent idea, and I made a note to do just that. And possibly they can come up with a design type of tree that is a good tree, that's going to be a hardy tree, not a mess to take care of in maintenance and so forth, and some guidance, and not all only trees that would be involved with this over time. There'd be bushes, there'd be other plantings, and maybe park benches and so forth within the area. It's right now something being discussed by the board. And the purpose of being here tonight is to get that first tree and see if there is a willingness on behalf of the city parks and then the city council to allow us to move ahead on that. Mayor, can you bring up Harvard Milk Day Festival Grounds in Milky Way Park? By the way, total expense involved with the tree, planting the tree and so forth would be Harvard Milk Day's expense. Maintenance of the area would probably be something that we'd need to talk with parks on, but we would try to make it as maintenance-free in its development, so the cut down on that. Okay, so if you're looking at where the dog park is located, and now the shelter that is in front of the dog park is enclosed by the fence as well. So we were looking possibly at one of the corners to where that fence around the shelter meets the actual dog park fence. And in that area, develop something that would be long-term. That area actually is kind of a protected area. It does not really have a lot of traffic for the Milk Day Festival itself, and was just kind of the first thought of a place to go with it. But we, Milk Day, is very much interested to work with the board as well as the council on where to do this. So, it's not like we're saying, well, that's where we want to put that tree. That's a suggested location. And then, depending on if you're saying, yes, let's move ahead with that, I would be talking to local nurseries on this first tree to purchase the tree from the nursery and have them actually plant it and then guarantee it for 50 years. Yeah, that might be a stretch, but let's just hope a couple anyway. And then kind of go from there. But the whole program is, we just want to do something to get started, and then as the plan is developed, we come back, we talk to you and say, what do you think? And then see if we can expand on it, and then it becomes a very beautiful part of the Harvard Milk Day grounds and Milky Way Park for years. And that is where the planting of the tree portion on this agenda is all about. I'll be glad to answer questions if I can.
Not a direct question to you, but at one point we had been talking about a master plan for Milky Way Park, and I just wanted to verify that this in no way is part of that area that would have been getting developed for baseball fields or soccer fields or anything else like that.
No, so that plan was for the south part of the park, not the north part.
Okay, thank you.
I had the pleasure of working with Wanda on the blood drives for many, many years. She actually let me hold the clipboard in the end, so that was quite, if any of you know Wanda, that was quite a sign of trust and of friendship. And if we need to make a motion that they can plant a tree in Milky Way Park in honor of Wanda Marzal, I would love to make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
I known Wanda for years, and Chuck.
Yeah, Chuck was quite a part of the city council for a number of years.
Yeah, he was an alderman for
Yep.
16 years or 12.
So this doesn't need a roll call vote, correct? So then everybody who is in favor of this
So,
motion?
yeah, you'd be making recommendations to city council.
Oh, recommendation,
Yep.
okay. Does
Aye.
she need to amend it to say
No,
that? Sorry.
yeah. She's making, I think that's,
My motion is to recommend to city council that we allow the Milk Day board to plant a tree in honor of Wanda Marzal.
Second it.
All right, so I guess we'll send the motion to city council.
Yeah,
If
so you gotta-
everybody is okay with that.
you need to take a vote here, just, you can say all in favor and.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? There you go,
Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Mayor.
no problem. So that'll go before city council next week.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, the next item, if I may move ahead on the agenda, I'm also involved with, which is to extend the drive lane. If go to the other end, Mayor. It'll be
Oh,
going on
sorry, yeah,
Lawrence Road.
Yeah.
Okay. We are always working with fire and rescue, police on access to the Harvard Milk Day grounds while we're occupying the grounds, and any other large event that may be utilizing the grounds. And we would like to pursue from Lawrence Road near the railroad tracks, probably to the high ground as much as possible, to extend a path that would go from Lawrence Road and connecting back to the existing paths that you see up there right now. Our intent is not to have it a common entrance or exit. It would be gated most of the year, and it would be marked that it is for emergency access only. And in case we have an issue, because as you well know, if you've attended the event, and I'm sure over the years you have done so, it gets pretty congested. And trying to get in and out of the parking lot when we're running with a full crowd is very tough. And the rescue squads have had calls where, they've had to leave the grounds and take care of things, and trying to, be like a salmon going against the grain, trying to get out of the parking lot and get to the emergency call. So even the fire and rescue are looking at maybe a different place to set up, or have multiple places to set up on the grounds to give them a little better access. So that is really what the request is here. Now, Lawrence Road, I believe, is a county.
It is, so I should tell you that I spoke to the incoming county administrator about this very issue, and they support
Very good.
the idea. so long as it's gated. Now, the issue for the county is going to be how close to the railroad tracks it's going to be. But based on what we've shown them, they feel that there's going to be room somewhere in here to make that entrance. So, and like I said, we did not seek a curb cut. It is an emergency access only that would be gated, and he didn't see that the county should have any problems with that.
That's good news. And we Nocte approached them years ago when we first got out to that property after the city got the grant to acquire the property. We moved in there the very first year and started the development, putting in all the electric lights, all the paths, everything that you see out there was put in by and paid for by Milk Day. And we're more than happy to do that, and it gets utilized by other nonprofits and clubs and organizations, which is why we're doing it. It's for the community as well. So that is what we're talking about there. We're looking at the same type of a path. We core out the topsoil and then put in base lime rock, and then we put in top coat of lime rock. It's all rolled in, makes a very good surface, and it also allows rainwater and stuff to run off easily, and also pores that it can soak right into the ground. So that would be the same type of a roadway that we'd be looking to extend that all the way across. And we're looking for the blessing of the park board and hopefully the city council and McHenry County to allow us to do that. Again, 100% of the cost and oversight would be taken care of by Harvard Milk Day.
I move to approve the access to what he wanted.
A recommendation to city council to extend the northern path for emergency access off of Lawrence Road
Right, with a gate,
with a gated
with a
entrance.
gated at the end.
I'll second that motion. So then, at this point, I'd like to hear who's in favor of the motion.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Mike, one question about that real quick. The gate, just real quickly, it's going to be locked, correct?
It would have to be secured in some way.
Sure.
That's still open for discussion. How,
Yep.
how is the access going to be set up for emergency equipment?
Okay.
So, who's got a key, who's got to get
That's what I
out
was
and do
going
a
to, like,
key
who
and
would have
all that
keys
kind
for
of
it, yeah.
stuff. It may even be involving some kind of an electronic gate situation. But again, decisions are still to be made on that. We just know it'll be gated.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Can I add one more note? Okay, if you swing to the other end of the grounds now, still on that north path, okay. If you see that path that is east-west, the northernmost, comes around and stops right there. That's where park property stops. Kirkpatrick's own the property then that continues to the east. We have a good working relationship with Kirkpatrick's, and they allow us to use that entire area for parking primarily during the festival. There is a little bit of a low area, that drive lane, if you can see it it goes right across there and ties in, and we're driving across the grass. And if we have any kind of wet weather, but we certainly hope not, but it is the end of May and the 1st of June, so we can pretty much figure we're going to get some. More and more of the vehicles going over, it turns the grass into mud. So, working with Kirkpatrick's, again, this wouldn't specifically involve the city for approval because it's private property. We're looking at extending the path up to that radius, basically, at this point. And then we're into drier area. So we'd be out of the areas that we know we've encountered problems in the past. But that again, Kirkpatrick's are not interested in having that a thoroughfare either. So we would have to work that out, but it's just information because it has been discussed at the board meeting. Even though it does not require any approval, the city's our partner. We try to keep them as well tuned as to what's going on as we possibly can, and that is also on the drawing board. So that's a matter of information at this point. We had a good year last year. That's why we can invest back into the property, and we hope to be able to continually do that. So I thank you for your time. You approved both items we've requested. I don't know procedurally, what do we got to do with the county at this point, do you think?
Well, I think next goes to city council. It'll go next week, and then the city will have to engage the county, and Milk Days will be involved too, because we'll get you connected to the
Okay.
basically county engineer, I think is what we'll need to do.
Sounds great. All right, I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
thank you very much for being partners with us for Harvard Milk Day.
Thank you.
Next up is the Parks and Recs Department report.
The report is submitted, but I have two updates. The first is we did mail out a link to or a postcard that included the link and a QR code to the survey that's currently open. So that went out to 5,007 residents. It has increased the response rate. So happy to give that update in December at our next meeting if you'd like. The other update, because we've made one change in the last week with the pool, we are going to fill the pool with water. So in my report, it says we're not going to fill the deep end, but we actually are going to fill the deep end. So if you drive by and you're like, why is there water? Joe said there wasn't. We are going to put water in it. I will say that either way, the engineers and Pool Blue, who helped maintain our pool this year, said you can do the pool dry over the winter or you can have water in the pool. We've decided to put water in the pool. So what it does is just in the deep end, so it's a lot of water, it won't freeze. It keeps the water in those pipes. They're so deep, they also won't freeze. They're below the frost line. So just wanted to mention it in case you go by and you see the pool filling. Thank you. Please don't go ice skating in it. That will not be safe. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, next is the mayor's report.
Right, so at this juncture, we have a closed session scheduled for later, but I think we don't really need to have the closed session. We'll just do it here, and then that'll save us some on the agenda. So Deb is handing out kind of a overview of some changes that we're doing in the Parks Department. Yeah, probably to make sure I know what I'm referring to. So if you, everybody should know that we need to replace a few department heads within the city. And I don't have enough budget to replace everybody. If you recall, when we had Donovan, he actually wore two hats. He wore the building department and economic development. And in that department, building department, we absolutely need a building department director. And so we're going to go back out to advertise resumes for applicants to that position. We found out over the summer when we tried, originally we were looking for that same kind of unicorn that Donovan filled that role of wearing both hats, and we weren't able to find that person because they're few and far between. They're very related types of work, but they're very different too. And so because of our priority in terms of building and ensuring that we're building and inspecting and making sure buildings are built properly, we really need our priority in that department. But I don't want to lose economic development. And so when we went to look at that, we went to look at our internal staff to see how could we create and fill all these holes we need and maybe help use the talent that we have on board. So to that point, we decided that instead of an economic development director, and instead of a parks department director, that we would combine both of those to a degree. There are some caveats to that. And so we would change that position from parks director to community engagement director. Because from our parks perspective, it's engagement with the community. We're engaging our citizens and providing services that engages all of our community. And of course, from an economic development perspective, it's engagement with our community and beyond. Joe has the resources and the talents to be able to fulfill both of these roles. But in order to make it more cohesive, I guess is the best word, we decided we need to look at the parks part of that position. Because if we look back in the past, and this has a lot to do with our looking at the pool operations from top to bottom, so we're going to talk about that now too. We looked at how our pool is managed from an operational perspective. So we have a pool manager, lifeguards, and then of course you have the parks director over top of them. And then traditionally our parks director has been responsible for operating the pool, trying to get programming going, which has been a focus the last couple of years, as well as maintaining the parks. And we decided in order to allow Joe to have the bandwidth to also take on economic development, I need to take some stuff away from her. And so what we're going to do is we're going to create what the Daryl's position was, basically a facilities and parks person, and which is Trevor, he's in that role, and we're going to move him up to leadman, which because he's going to have some budgeting responsibilities for maintaining our facilities and the pool. And the parks, facilities and parks. Pool, what we decided, in order to provide better overall operation and maintenance of the pool, why don't we utilize the people within our organization that know how to operate a water system? So we are moving pool maintenance and operations from a operational standpoint to the utility department, who already operate water systems and understand chlorine and understand taking samples of the water to ensure that it's balanced. And we think from that perspective, we'll have better maintenance of the pool moving forward. From an operational perspective of people, that would still, we're going to hire an actual pool manager. Now, I would say we had a pool manager before, but his job duties weren't clearly defined. And some of the things that you would expect a pool manager to do were not part of his job description. So next year, our pool manager is going to have a very detailed job description of all the things that person's supposed to do. Our previous pool manager has the opportunity to apply for that position, as well as someone else. And then that pool manager is going to run the labor of the pool. And that will not, and then that person would still report to Joe, but Joe wouldn't oversee the day-to-day operations of operating the labor of the pool. So we've separated out the maintenance operations to utilities, and then we would have a dedicated pool manager who we expect to be on site to operate the pool. And also manage the lifeguards, because the lifeguards are typically young adults and they really do need on-site management. This would free up some bandwidth for Joe to start taking on economic development activities along with park activities. And so in the park activities, those areas in programming that she would be responsible for would be anything that is athletic. So as you know, we've been trying to do lots of programming, especially non-athletic programming, and we have struggled. We have outright struggled to get participation. And we still want to continue to do that programming, but we looked again in our organization and said, why are we beating our heads against the wall? Let's partner with a group that's already doing it and does it well, and that's our library. And so our library has consented to join forces to help us manage the non-athletic programming that we've been doing, and in some cases, we had redundant programming. And I expect that come budget time that we would allocate a certain amount of our budget to use through the library for that type of programming. So our Parks Department, department head, will actually now become the Community Engagement Director. She would still come to this body to make her reports for parks. But utilizing the people that we have, I'm going to be able to fill all these roles and address the past issues that we haven't addressed properly and kind of got us in the issues that we've had in terms of the pool operation. So I'm very confident that this new structure will give us more bandwidth within our Parks Department and provide economic development that we're missing, and also ensure that our asset, our most expensive asset in the parks, the pool, will have better management going forward, both from a labor perspective and from a maintenance operations perspective.
So just so because I wrote it down, just so we have a clear idea. Joe will become the new Community Engagement Director, which is a combination of facilities and parks with athletics. The pool maintenance and operation.
But not facilities, parks athletics.
Parks athletics, okay. Okay. Pool maintenance and operation will move to utilities, where they will have a dedicated pool manager, which will run the labor of the pool. And will that be just a part-time temp position every year?
Seasonal.
Seasonal, okay.
Right. So,
Okay.
the maintenance, and when I say operation maintenance, I mean the actual, running the pool.
Right.
That will fall to utilities, but the labor portion of the operation, which is the pool manager and lifeguards, would still report through to Joe.
Okay. And then the library would then manage the non-athletic programming.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and would coordinate with Joe on those programming, but because they have dedicated space, they already run lots of programming and have a very good success rate of participation. It will be what I think is a seamless transition, and instead of creating two different booklets, we can now combine it with the library and be able to address all of the issues that we've been trying to address, but I think in a much more efficient manner.
Mayor, would Joe still update us on the pools and pool needs or equipment?
So when it comes to that, that would then fall under Mike Rousey, who is the department head for the utilities.
And who would we get to specifically establish like a maintenance schedule of what we need replaced in like every odd years, like,
So that would all fall under the utilities department to manage moving forward.
That actually is a little bit more of a relief, because that way they already have a lot of knowledge and stuff. And
Yes, they do.
we can make sure that we get out ahead of things when we're supposed to be replacing them on time, so that way it's not chaotic. Thank you.
Will they need additional staff, Mayor, then? Utilities to help with the pool?
We don't think so at this juncture. They've actually added staff since we added the wastewater treatment plant, so, and Trevor, moving into the lead role, will still be also working with Public Works as part of their call-out schedule, I guess, is where they, what's the word I'm looking for? On-call schedule, that's the word. So, weekends and at night. But he, and when it comes to parks maintenance, he's a guy responsible for all the grass cutting, repairing of equipment in the parks, all those kind of things. So he'll have a seasonal crew that works for him during the summer that does all of those action items. What did I forget?
You didn't forget anything. The other benefit of utilities, they have people here on the weekends. So checking the water chemistry on Saturday and Sunday is totally doable and part of their regular schedule. Whereas now, Trevor and I didn't work on the weekends, so we would have to come in, or he would be paid, if he had to come in, it would be overtime. So it's even smooth, like more smooth.
It's more efficient because there's already someone in the utility department working on weekends because they have to test water at the wells and all the other things that they do during, that system runs. So it really, I don't know why we didn't think about this in the past, but what I will tell you is that our current utilities director said, I don't know why you guys aren't thinking about this. We should be taking care of the pool. When I was in Woodstock, we took care of the pool. And I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. Like, it just makes a lot of sense. And in fact, when we were having some issues previously, we had brought them in when we were having problems with the chlorine system. And they came in and made, and they pointed out some things that I think helped us when we were first tackling that issue. So from a perspective of longevity of the pool, I think, this kind of new structure is going to create a better ongoing maintenance of the pool for corrective and preventative maintenance. And with a dedicated pool manager who has, clearly defined role of what his responsibilities are, will help manage the labor portion of the pool more efficiently. So,
With that portion with the pool manager, is this something that whoever is hired, they would be guaranteed that position every year, or would they have to reapply?
I think it would be a reapplication every year.
Okay.
Likely, if that person was hired and wanted to maintain, they probably would have first right of refusal. Is how it would.
Makes sense. I just didn't know if it was going to be like, it could be a new person every year, or if it was, okay.
It would be nice to see the same person every year.
I would assume, yeah. It might be
We
nice
would
to
love
see.
that.
Then you wouldn't have to be training the same. Do we vote on this, or is this?
Well, no, actually, this is really informational to you. We originally had slated this to go into closed session, but I didn't really see a need to do this in closed session because it's all going to become public next week when we appoint Joe to the position. So at this juncture, it really was just informational, not only for you, but for our listeners as well.
I think honestly it makes a lot of sense, especially too taking a lot of that non-athletic programming off of your back, because I do know that the library does a lot, and they are pretty successful. I've seen a lot of one of the big ones we do is Lego night, and it's packed every month. So
And that helps strengthen the relationship between the library and the city. So
Just as an example of something the library does that kind of piggybacks on that, we were able to go to Ravinia for free this year, my husband and I, because the library had free tickets. Now, the parks didn't know about that because the parks doesn't do that. We didn't hear about it. We don't have kids in school anymore, so we just happened to be taking a walk and there was a sign on the door of the library. I can see the library taking this over and that becoming something that the community is now aware of. And those types of programs that are even at a larger scale that, again, the community maybe is just unaware. And now because we're partnering with them, again, better awareness, better,
And to their credit, they have dedicated staff for the marketing part of that we don't. And so in a lot of ways, it makes a lot of sense, and I think it'll strengthen the relationship between the library and the city, provide more amenities to our constituents through the library. So, and it utilizes their meeting room and all, because they have space that we don't. So it kind of all works together.
When did there used to be a city alderman on the library board, is that no longer?
Yeah, John Lavallee is on the board.
Oh, okay, I wasn't sure.
It used to be Lisa Haderlein, but she stepped down when we created the tree board, and John went on.
Okay.
So.
And it kind of ties in nicely with the strategic vision, because some of this stuff was going in community development and could also apply here in the Parks Board. And speaking of which, do we have anything new to add to the strategic vision this time around? I guess.
Nothing for this committee. We will have something for probably community and economic development, so.
Is there any new business that anybody wishes to bring up?
well, since we kind of talked about it, this is a perfect time, now that we know there is a restructuring, to maybe get the utility and water department involved in investigating, and staff to investigate exactly what type of audit might be required for a 20-year-old pool. Especially since they're taking over it, they might want to investigate how much, an audit would cost.
I have notes, when we had this discussion earlier, Director Rousey has a good working relationship with Burbach. He knows the engineer there
Okay.
from working with him in Woodstock, so I have notes to speak with him about that tomorrow.
Okay.
To see what that analysis would entail
Okay.
and what the cost would be.
Yeah, and
For us to
then
have it
the
done.
only other thing, I know he has a good working relationship, just from other areas of my life, having an engineer is important. Having an engineer that doesn't build necessarily commercial pools is also something, just maybe someone who's not going to come in and sell us a pool. Just, that someone, an independent company, there are companies out there that just do audits. They don't actually, give recommendations. They don't necessarily build pools. So just something to add to that. I think just might be something we should investigate.
Any other new
Yeah,
business?
I was up by Mary's, no, not Mary, yeah, Mary's Park. The bathrooms over there, are they not operable, correct?
They're not.
How about a roof or something on there? It looks pretty shabby.
To date, this board has decided to do nothing with the bathrooms at Mary's Park.
I mean, not even a coat of paint or nothing? I mean, the wood's chipping on the trim and.
So at
I
one
was gonna
point,
call the code
at one
enforcement
point,
officer to
this
go down
board
there.
looked at, I think.
We looked at that.
You were here.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe you can update the board on what took place in the past there.
I mean, even a roof, I was just thinking just a roof or something.
Well, we looked at it, it's completely, needs to be tore down, really. There's nothing to salvage or fix.
Oh, okay.
It's
Well, we should
it's
tear
at
it
that
down.
point. We looked at it thinking, let's open it up, right, it's there, the plumbing's there, but it's not good. They use it for storage, and I think there's some storage.
There is some storage, I think, in there, I think.
I don't see how that
but
roof
it's-
doesn't leak though.
No, yeah, no, and there's,
It's
realistically, we probably should either tear it down or tear it down
Because if
and
it was a
rebuild.
private person, the city code enforcement lady would be right there.
Yes,
And I think we should show by example to do something with it.
yeah, it's something we probably have to tackle at some point, right, either
I mean, if
tear it
it's
down
been a
or
couple
redo
years
it.
already, why
Yeah.
has it been taking?
So in terms of that, would we need to discuss that during the budget meetings, or would we need to talk about that beforehand?
Not a maintenance issue?
Well,
Yeah.
it would come out of the parks budget to demolish the bathrooms.
It's on the list to get a budget number.
Give me a
I'll bring
backhoe,
this
I'll
back
do
to
it.
committee.
To see what we need done, yeah. I mean, I'm sure that,
For a total demo?
yeah, I mean, we have to probably consider that or see if we can I mean, the plumbing's there, right? It's
Because
underground.
it is an eyesore.
Just as a side note, it does contain equipment, camera equipment.
Yes, that's it, Mayor. There's camera stuff in there. Yep.
I will see what I can get together for you.
That's what it is. There's a camera and the electronics
Yep,
for it.
yep.
Which is why it's been kept in place, because it could be in there secure, where it couldn't be vandalized.
When
You know, maybe it's worth this board looking at replacing them.
I mean, something should be done, either tear it down or it's an eyesore.
Why don't we get a rough estimate to demolish it and an estimate to replace them?
We have an estimate to replace it.
We have to keep something there because the camera equipment is there. And we also have new Wi-Fi there.
Oh, that's right.
Oh.
So we might want to have something.
We'll look into that.
Is this Wi-Fi inside?
There's Wi-Fi outside.
All the parks have Wi-Fi now.
Yeah,
No, I meant, inside, I thought.
There's a modem.
the actual
The
equipment is
equipment that
inside.
creates the
Oh, okay.
Wi-Fi.
So the roof doesn't leak?
It must
Right.
not.
Not in that area, I would
It
assume.
sure looks like it does. It looks like a rough shape. I put that
All
up.
right, so if that's everything, I guess, could I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Meeting adjourned?
Oh, you gotta say all in favor?
Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
When's the next meeting? Aye.
I believe about, yeah, oh, wow.
December.
December?
December?
No. Oh, yeah, December 15th.
15th, okay.
All right, let me stop the stream.